We are again outside the greenhouse in isolation. Really can't see the screen in this light, so I don't even know if it's recording. I've probably got a squinty selfie face on, but what the heck. Let's go inside and see what's happening in here. Through the insulation. Close the door behind, keep the warmth in. First thing up today is something you won't have seen before from me. This is buds breaking on my grapevine. It's a white grape called Phoenix. Rather nice and sweet, very productive last year. In fact, possibly too productive, so I'll thin the grapes out and we might have some larger grapes and smaller bunches. Also another newie is this. It's a pot filled with compost and then Amsterdam forcing carrots sown early in I think at the beginning of the month, and they've sort of started to germinate and come away nicely. And if they perform like last year, I'll be pulling small salad carrots, lovely and sweet, about the size of a little finger, save and get them nice and early, save going over to the allotment to get them. And then we come over to what's happened here since last time. Well, the leek's a bit slow growing, but I'm not in any rush for them. They'll grow on and then get lined out in the allotment and then finally planted where the potatoes, the early potatoes are. These have grown a bit, the cabbages, Primo, hard white cabbage, which finely sliced makes a nice coleslaw in the summer. Greyhound spring cabbage, rather a lot of those. These are the French onion seedlings, ciboule or chiboule, which is a little red onion, a bit like a salad onion I think it's going to be. That could be interesting. Some red and golden beetroot, a few sunflowers. These are parsnips started, and then we've got an appropriate for me, as it's one of my favourite wines, claret, sunflowers. Next into here we have, what have we got here? We've got some seed trainer, root trainers I called, which have got peas in. These are, I think there's one showing there. These are heritage seedlings which I'm growing on for the workhouse garden. Once they're up and handleable, we'll plant them out as long as they're allowed to go to the garden, which isn't guaranteed at the moment, in which case I'll bring them on in my allotment. And what we do with, as they're heritage varieties, we get given the seed and we grow them on and increase the seed and some of it back, keep some back for ourselves, and hopefully harvest a few nice peas from them as well. Over to here. Here's the coriander which I showed you last time, a little bit bigger. Still not cutting it, although it's tempting. We had a potato curry last night, which I actually used some frozen in, but it's not as nice as the fresh. Then I've got, looking forward to harvesting these little gem lettuces, which have been sitting in this pot all winter and now are growing away, and they're just beginning to heart up. I'll enjoy those soon, or we will enjoy those. These are awaiting moving on. I've already moved some, graduated onto their own pots, so once they've got some decent roots on them, they'll get out to the allotment up a wigwam. More seedlings, early lettuce, more tomatoes, some the same that we had before and some new ones. More tomatoes, more tomatoes. These are the ones which are the biggest from the first sowing, and they've been potted on into their 3-inch pots. As you can see from this tray, they're getting quite congested, and there's a few here like this one which will need to be moved on into their own pots soon. You may wonder what this material around the base is. It's either vermiculite or perlite, two different things, but what they do is they create a nice snug area around the base of the plant, because little plants like this, when the nights are cold, if they're in touch with damp, cold compost, they're inclined to rot off at the base. Here's a second sowing of brassicas, red cabbage, Savoy cabbage, some cauliflowers. Quite a good germination rate on those, so I'll need to thin them out, as I already have done with these. Some interesting plant names for these. We've got Granny's Throwing, which makes a big handful of a tomato, and that's from seed I bought in Australia. Yellow Perfection, that's another nice salad, obviously yellow tomato. Big Rainbow, quite a large tomato with an interesting sort of yellow, orange and red colouring to the centre, so that's interesting. There's various other heritage ones here. Right, I think anything else? Oh yes, there's, in this warmer part of the greenhouse you can see how the vine is growing really well now. There's maybe just one more thing to show you, something I'm going to plant. First of all, I get some nice fresh compost and a clean pot. Just lightly fill it with some compost there, and then what I do is I put one of these in, put some compost in there, water that and keep it somewhere warm for a while, and then hopefully something might happen. And in fact, I started this one about 10 days ago and already it's looking very promising, so hopefully we might be self-sufficient next year, or even this year, which could be useful. Anyway, that's sort of all for now. Maybe a visit to the allotment next time to see what's going on there when some of these little littlies get planted out. One last thing, quite vital for these tender plants like the tomatoes and chilies, is maintaining the temperature. The fan heater is set so that the temperature doesn't drop much below 10 degrees at night, because if that happens the plants can get a bit of a cold shock, as it's called, and they run the risk of rotting off round the base, around where the compost is, if it's damp. Anyway, I must put some more vermiculite on these to make sure that doesn't happen to my lettuces. Right, that's all for now. Bye.